Hey there, Walt here from WaltInPA, and today I'm testing out a brand new accessory for my motorcycle. Well, not necessarily an accessory, but a new exhaust system, a slip-on from Coffman exhausts. So, in this video, I'm going to let you hear it, and I will tell you a little bit about the installation process and my first impressions, my experience after 30 minutes of having it on the bike. So, stick around. Makes a world of difference over the stock exhaust. So let's hop on the bike and we'll talk about it. So I bought this 2023 Kawasaki Ninja 400 KRT edition back in October of 2022, and I bought it as just a fun little bike to take out and enjoy Pennsylvania back roads. It is a second motorcycle for me. It's not something that I would be doing long tours on or extra long days, just, fun little back road bike. That's why I bought it. I decided when I bought this bike that I wasn't going to be making very many changes to it, and that it was going to remain mostly stock for the most part. Little creature comforts here and there, maybe a phone mount, maybe a USB charging port, minor stuff. Nothing like exhaust systems or intakes or power commanders, fuel delivery systems, ECU flashes, like none of that stuff. That was just kind of way above and beyond why I bought this bike. Now, this bike has been an absolute blast. I love riding it, and it does everything that I envisioned it would do for me. But there was one thing that kind of nagged at the back of my mind. Even though I said I wasn't going to make any modifications to it, I started to second guess myself. And I thought, one thing that would make this bike just meaner and a little more fun would be an exhaust system. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole and I started looking at different exhaust options, primarily slip-ons, and I came to the conclusion that I didn't really know what I wanted. I just knew that I kind of wanted something to make it a little bit louder. One thing for sure, though, was I did not want to put an exhaust on this bike that required me to flash the ECU or have a tune put in it or required the purchase of a power commander or anything else that would require further modifications to the bike. I wasn't chasing horsepower. I just wanted that audible grunt. I wanted a little bit of a growl out of the bike, and I didn't want to spend a ton of money to do it. I spent the next couple of weeks kind of window shopping, looking at different options, seeing what the price points were, weighing the pros and cons of each system. And then, out of the blue, I received an email from Wyatt Coffman from Coffman Exhaust Systems. He had seen my 1,000-mile review of the Kawasaki Ninja 400 and asked me if I would be interested in testing out one of his exhausts free of charge in exchange for, giving him feedback and providing a product review. Wyatt and I exchanged a couple of emails going back and forth and gave me the opportunity to get to know Coffman exhausts. Now, they've got kind of an interesting story because they didn't start out as a motorcycle exhaust manufacturer. They were in the water sports industry, because they believe it was jet skis where they were making exhausts, and over time they expanded and shifted towards the motorcycle industry. Now, one of the unique things about Coffman is they are a US-based company based out of California, and they manufacture their exhausts in-house. You know, it's not like they're using a third-party manufacturing facility to create products for them. They're building exhausts internally, and as a result, they have a really good control over inventory and the speed at which new products are developed. So if tomorrow they decide that they want to develop an exhaust for the new Kawasaki ZX4RR, they could send out a tweet or an Instagram message or a Facebook message and say, hey, does anyone want to drop off their ZX4RR so that we can develop an exhaust for it? You know, take a couple of days and you'll get a free exhaust out of it. And, you know, by the way, that's a true story. I saw it recently and I thought that was super cool. Now, further discussions with Wyatt kind of brought to light something that I had in the back of my mind. When Coffman reached out to me, one of the first things I did was I pulled up their website and I started navigating through their options. You know, you can pick by brand and then pull up an exhaust. And I was kind of surprised at how inexpensive the exhaust systems were. I mean, they were under $300. And, you know, immediately I thought, well, you know, this is quite a bit less than some of the other systems that I was looking at. You know, what's the deal here? What's the trade-off? And that actually came up in a discussion with Wyatt, where he explained that because they manufacture in-house, they can keep the price down on products. You know, they obviously they have to raise prices for the rise in cost of raw goods and shipments and you know, the usual logistics stuff that kind of plagues every industry. But he said, you know, there's been kind of a reputation because they try to keep the exhaust affordable, that it kind of comes with a negative stigma where, well, you know, maybe in this case you get what you pay for and it's going to be junk. So actually having that conversation with him put that fear or that worry to rest, and I was really interested in giving the exhaust a try. So we came to an arrangement. He was going to send me an exhaust in exchange for the review, and I was thrilled when it arrived. Really quickly, by the way. Additionally, at one point in time, Coffman was using Amazon as their fulfillment service. So I think that had a kind of negative impact. Certainly didn't help the situation with the brand awareness, the brand visibility. They're in the process of shifting their fulfillment away from Amazon and to their own Coffman exhaust website. And they've got a variety of options for a variety of bikes. Basically, you go on there, you pick your make, you pick your model, and then you pick your color options. And the cool thing about that is, you know, for example, this Kawasaki Ninja 500, it comes in like the KRT edition, white, there's like a slate gray and orange color scheme, there's a blue color scheme, and they have different exhaust tip options that you can kind of cycle through and choose. In my case, I got the Cowie green exhaust tip to match the KRT edition. They've got kind of an orangey copper exhaust tip for the orange colorway. They've got red, they've got blue. So whatever color scheme you're going with on your motorcycle, doesn't have to be a Ninja 400, they most likely have an exhaust tip color option for you if you don't want the standard polished or black. While talking with Wyatt, I also learned that Coffman exhausts are ceramic coated, not powder coated like some other exhaust options on the market. Now, I explained that powder coating it's really durable stuff, but it's susceptible to chippage. So if I'm riding down a Pennsylvania back road where we have lots of oil and chip, and a stone were to get kicked up and hit the exhaust, if it was large enough and hit the exhaust with enough force, it wouldn't just chip the powder coat. There's a good chance that it would take a chunk out of the powder coat. Now, the ceramic, on the other hand, while it is more susceptible to scratching during the installation process, like the last thing you want to do is let the pipe clamp slide down the ceramic coat. But once the exhaust is installed, it is very durable, and the ceramic coating is less likely to chip. So instead, you'll get a minor little impact mark with maybe some hairline, little spiderweb cracks, but it won't be nearly as noticeable as a big chunk of powder coat coming off. So that was a decision that they made to help make their exhaust look nice after long-term use on various road surfaces. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I just installed the Coffman exhaust maybe less than an hour ago. I'm not even sure how long I've been out riding, but the installation process was a breeze. I spent more time walking back and forth between the bike and my toolbox to get the right size socket than I did actually taking the old exhaust off and bolting up the new one. My first impressions of the Coffman exhaust is that it is substantially louder than the stock exhaust. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I like the grunt, I like the growl, I like that the exhaust is now louder than the engine, which is just a nice change of pace. It's also worth noting that I always ride wearing earplugs. I don't find this exhaust to be obnoxious. It is most definitely louder than the stock exhaust. And I might develop a headache if I were riding this bike for long periods of time and listening to that exhaust kind of drone on. But the only time it gets really loud is during hard acceleration, or if you're just kind of hanging around in the high RPM range. You know, if you're just cruising around 5,000-6,000 RPMs, it's really not that loud. Another nice thing about this exhaust, I had mentioned earlier on in the video that I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole chasing performance, you know, just throwing money after money just so that I could get an exhaust that sounded good and then get the bike to run well around it. The Coffman exhaust has a baffle in it. It's got packing, it's got a back pressure that is similar to stock, so it doesn't require an ECU flash, it doesn't require a power commander. Like, you don't have to do all of that other stuff. It's basically just bolted on and go. Now, I have not noticed any adverse effects riding the bike. You know, part of my brain says it's a lot louder, the bike should probably feel faster, even though it's not supposed to. And that's kind of a tough thing to get over, because it's not. The bike behaves pretty much exactly like it did stock. If I roll off the throttle, I still get the same sort of engine brake response out of it. If I twist the throttle open, I don't get any more acceleration, I just get more noise. And that's exactly what I was looking for when I decided that an exhaust was something that I wanted to put on this bike. So if you install the Coffman exhaust on your motorcycle and later on down the line you decide it's not quite loud enough and you want it to be louder, or you want to go down the rabbit hole and start increasing performance, the baffle, you know, the packing material, all that can be removed, and it will give you a much more free-flowing exhaust, which will require a tune of some sort and much more noise. I've been playing with the throttle position the entire time I've been riding, specifically listening for that deceleration pop. I can't stand it. Just something about hearing that pop drives me absolutely nuts. It just sounds, I don't like the way it sounds. And I've been listening, I don't hear it. So big thumbs up, no decel pop. Well, folks, as I said, I installed the Coffman exhaust system today. Been out about 2 hours now, and so far, first impressions, I really like it. It looks good, it sounds great, it's not obnoxiously loud. There was a section of road that I came to get here, I was doing 65, cruising, you know, 6th gear, and I think the wind noise was about as loud as the exhaust. So I think it's going to be a good fit for me as a guy that's looking for just some extra noise without having to chase all of the other mods that go along with an exhaust. I think this is a great fit. There are a couple of little things. I can be like hypercritical about stuff. So your mileage may vary. You may see these things and think like, well, Walt, what's the big deal? That's super minor. So first thing is the Coffman exhaust does not fit tight up against this little stop on the OEM pipe. And some of the relief cuts that allow the two pipes to fit over top of one another stick out past the clamp. And I had to kind of back it off a little bit in order to make the mounting bracket work. I tried it both on the front and on the back. On the back, the exhaust is cocked, so you definitely have to mount it on the front side. And just the way it works out, you wind up with a tiny little gap here, and you wind up seeing some of the relief cuts. Again, your mileage may vary. I guess a bit of OCD about certain things, and that just bugs me a little bit. The other thing is, in the light, you'll be able to see weird little like bridging lines or something around the letters on how the finish was applied. You just get these little specks. It doesn't look bad, but in the light it looks like the letters are kind of like outlined in a dashed line. I'm not thrilled with how big the Coffman exhaust systems logo is. I mean, I'm standing, I don't know, 20 feet away, and it's like, that's what I see. Not the green exhaust tip, like just that red just draws my eye. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think that, I don't know, if the logo were more blended into the exhaust, I think it would make for a nicer presentation. The other curious thing is, while I was on the Coffman website, you can buy spare parts. So in a few years down the line, if you need to replace the packing, you can buy new packing from them. You can also buy a replacement plate in case that gets damaged. So if you can buy a replacement plate, maybe at some point you can buy a custom plate and you can make that say whatever you want it to say, which would be really cool. I can just think of a million different things that I'd like to do there that I think would look really cool. With this being kind of a first impressions review, I do plan on coming back and revisiting the exhaust after a few months. I really want to spend some time to live with it and see if, I don't know, any little issues pop up, or just kind of let you know what I think long term, because I can't possibly do a full-on in-depth review of a product that I've literally been riding around with for like 2 hours. So this was my first impressions take on the Coffman exhaust system for my Kawasaki Ninja 400. If you're interested in kind of a long-term take, don't forget to subscribe to the WaltInPA channel and keep an eye out for a future video. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, ride safe, and I will catch you in the next one.